Havarti cheese is a lovely Danish cheese with a buttery aroma and a smooth and creamy texture. If you're looking for a Havarti recipe, you're in the right place. Come into my kitchen. Let me show you how to make Havarti cheese. A little milk for the kitty and the rest for the cheese. Take 3 gallons of pasteurized, unhomogenized milk and heat it slowly to 86 degrees. Once the target temp of 86 degrees is reached, it's time to add the cultures. Today we'll use 2 different cultures. The first is a mesophilic culture, and you'll take a 1/4 teaspoon of mesophilic culture and just sprinkle it to the top. And you'll take 1/8 of a teaspoon of Flora danica, which is also a mesophilic culture, but it's an aromatic culture, and it's responsible for making those little holes and giving off that buttery aroma. Go ahead and let that culture rehydrate for 5 minutes. And then stir in the cultures for 1 minute. And we'll let these cultures do their magic for 45 minutes. We'll see you in a few minutes. Once the 45 minutes is up and the acidification step is complete, we can move on to the coagulation step. So you'll take 3/4 of a teaspoon of calcium chloride, and you're going to add it to 1/4 cup of non-chlorinated water. Mix it in and add it to the milk. You'll stir it for 1 minute. Make sure you use a top and down stirring motion. That way you can be sure to get everything mixed through correctly. The reason we use calcium chloride is because we have pasteurized unhomogenized milk, and the calcium chloride will help the rennet set up. And now we'll do the same thing with the rennet. We'll take 3/4 of a teaspoon and we'll mix it in with a 1/4 cup of non-chlorinated water. Add it to the milk and stir for no longer than 1 minute. And then cover the pot and let the milk rest for 45 minutes. Once the 45 minutes has elapsed, take your curd knife and insert it into the center of the mass and check for a clean break. You can accomplish this by pulling back the curds and waiting for the whey to seep into the crack that you just created. And that's exactly what's happening here. So we're going to cut these curds. You'll cut these curds into 3/8 of an inch cubes by first cutting vertically, then horizontally. Cover the pot and let the curds heal for 5 minutes. Bring about 3/4 of a gallon of non-chlorinated water to 175 degrees Fahrenheit. And while the water is heating, gently stir the curds for 10 minutes. The goal here is to get all of your curds to a uniform size. So if you have some larger curds, I like to call them whale curds. If you have those larger curds, it's no problem. You can just gently cut them with the side of your spoon. And when the 10-minute stir is complete, you'll allow the curds to settle to the bottom for about 5 minutes. If you enjoy herbs in your Havarti like I do, now's the time to take this important step. I'm choosing dill, but other popular herbs can be either caraway or cumin, and you'll want to take 1 to 2 tablespoons of your favorite herb, and you'll want to bring it up to 200 degrees Fahrenheit in an oven for 5 minutes. This is an important step because we want to make sure that any bacteria is taken care of, especially if you're using dried herbs from your garden. That's a very important step to take. Now I'm going to remove 1/3 of the whey, and I'm going to save it off because I plan to make caramel with this whey a little later. Yeah, that's a thing. I'm pretty excited about it. Now, over a 10-minute period of time, we're going to take the hot water and you'll replace the whey with the water. And the goal is to get the curds to between 98 and 100 degrees Fahrenheit. You can choose your target temperature here. If you choose the lower temperature, your cheese will be a little bit softer. Once you've reached your desired target temperature, I took mine to right at 100. Go ahead and add 1 ounce of non-iodized salt. And now stir continuously for 30 minutes. Now I prefer to measure my cheese salt by weight rather than by volume, but if you don't have a kitchen scale, it's not a problem. You can always use roughly 3 tablespoons. That should be pretty close. Once the 30-minute stir is finished, allow the curds to sink to the bottom for about 5 minutes. Now pour the curds into the sanitized colander. You will not want to use this whey for anything like a garden because this whey has salt in it. So I'm just going to let this whey go. And now with very clean hands, you can take your herbs and mill it into the curds. Work quickly. You'll want the curds still to be warm when they enter the mold. And then you'll take the curds and you'll transfer them to a cheesecloth lined mold. And then just wrap the ends of the cheesecloth around the curd mass. And you'll take your follower and place it on top. You'll need a couple of extras. And now you'll press this cheese at 8 pounds for 30 minutes. I know, just the thing. After 30 minutes has elapsed, go ahead and remove the cheese from the press. Be very careful with the cheese at this point because it's barely pressed together. You'll flip it over and just redress the cheese. Oh, see that? This cheesecloth just touched that pole. I need to get a new one. Okay, and you'll just redress the cheese and slip it back into the mold. Well, I was in a bit of a hurry to run off and teach a martial arts class, so I must have hit the wrong button on the camera, so sorry. So I'll share with you quickly the next step. The second press is at 15 pounds for 2 hours. We'll see you in a couple of hours. And I'm back after 2 hours or so, a little more, but who's counting? And we're going to take it out of the mold. Smells amazing. Yeah, this is going to be nice cheese. You'll flip it and redress it. And then back into the mold. And then this time we're going to press at 20 pounds for 2 hours. See you in 2 more hours. Then after the 2 hours at 20 pounds, you'll remove the cheesecloth and place the cheese back into the mold. And you'll submerge the cheese in 65-degree water. Make sure that the water is non-chlorinated. Keep the cheese submerged at 65 degrees for 8 hours or overnight. We'll see you in the morning. If you're new to the channel and you haven't met her already, meet Yum Yum. She's just waiting for me to take the next step in the cheesemaking process. She lives for these moments. And after 8 hours or overnight, it's time to take the Havarti out of its overnight bath. So you'll remove it from the mold. Oh, yeah, isn't that beautiful? That is awesome. And you'll place it into an 18% brine solution for 6 hours. Place a follower on top so that the cheese remains submerged. Be sure to flip it at the 3-hour mark. And we'll see you in a few hours. And then after the 6 hours of brining is complete, you'll remove it from the brine. And you can wipe it off with a paper towel. And then you'll place it in a ripening box. Now, I'm using a repurposed pie carrier, and this is just a cut up dish holder that works for me pretty well. I use it for all of my ripening box cheeses. So we just place the cheese in the box, and I'm shooting for a humidity of 90%. So I'll just place that in the box so I can check it periodically. Place the lid on the box. Open up the vent holes, and I'm pretty sure that should achieve at about a 90% humidity. I'm going to place it in the cheese cave for 1 week, and I'm going to turn it every day and watch for mold. After the short aging period in the cave, remove the cheese from the pie container and place it on a drying rack for 1 to 2 days or until it's dry to the touch. There's a question about vac sealing that comes up from time to time that I'd like to answer now. And the question is, do you have to vac seal the entire round before you put it in the cave to age? And the answer is, you don't have to. I prefer to vac seal an entire round, but sometimes there's some situations that may require having to cut into the cheese. And the first situation would be that the round itself is too big for the vac seal bag. And if that's the case, it's not a problem. Just cut it in half and vac seal each piece separately. And in this case, I will be cutting this Havarti in half because I plan to visit my brother soon and I'd like to give him some. And another reason, to be honest, is I'd kind of like to take a look at how it looks inside. So let's go ahead and cut this Havarti in half right now. That is a very nice looking cheese. I'll have to eat this piece. Here. Take a look. Yeah, that's beautiful. I think this is going to taste fantastic. I can smell the dill and I can smell that the cheese is beginning to ripen, so I'm pretty excited about that. In my research, I've noticed that some recipes suggest that you can actually eat the Havarti this young, and I just found myself an opportunity to do that, so let's see what it tastes like. Oh yeah, that's good. The dill is definitely present, but already the flavor of the cheese is coming through. And you know what? It's not too acidic. And really that's what I was hoping for and expecting in a young cheese. Now the big question, how long am I going to age this? I'm going to age my half for 2 to 3 months, but I'm going to give the other half to my brother, and that'll be up to him to decide how long he thinks he can wait. Thanks so much for watching. We appreciate your support. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a recipe. We'll see you in the next episode.